Well, how y'all doing out there? Due north, happy to talk to you today. You know, Lisa, we were talking about setting goals yesterday, wasn't we?
Sure were.
You know, the crossroads of life. Say hi to everybody, Lisa.
Hi, everybody.
And, you know, people, I think, want to just jump right in to, okay, well, I'm going to set my goals, or I'm going to make my vision board. And I used to be guilty of that too. And then I realized that, you know, maybe with older, they call it wisdom, that's really just not the way to start. So let me back up here, see if I can get everybody on the same page. You know, through life, you find yourself finding a mentor. And I'm sorry if this ain't one of these videos, it's 3 minutes or less, but you know, sometimes we have to work on our attention span. So it's gonna take just a little bit, but I promise you it's worth it. You know, one of my mentors, her name is Mary. And I wasn't sure, you know, I was kind of at the same crossroads in life, Lisa and I were. And Mary told a story that resonated, and I could say every one of my mentors changed our life. They taught us different values, different, I don't know, just different things that we didn't know. Well, let me just cut to the chase. So this was the story that Mary told me and Lisa, and it really worked on us. And this is it. Mary said one time there was a mentor that she wanted to have, or she wanted to, you know, hear. And the guy was going to give them a talk. He invited 4 couples only to come to his little meeting. It was just a 3-hour meeting, 4 couples. She went home, she told her hubby, hey, let's go. Apparently they were having some issues. We'll leave that out of it, but he wouldn't go. Because see, most men, what I learned when I go to these seminars, if there's 3,000 people there, believe it or not, generally, like, you know, Mary one time said, all right, all the men stand up. Got 3,000 people. There's only 6 guys there. What I learned from that is most of the time guys really are not interested in working on themselves. So that really kind of woke me up that I'm glad I've got a wife that prods me and pokes me and is patient with me, and I am happy to work on myself. So, but Mary's husband that night said, no, if you want to go to the meeting, you go without me. And so she took off the meeting. Guess what? The other 3 couples did show up. They had the meeting, and she came home. Now, just like anybody else, they want the 3-hour meeting in 3 minutes. Hey, what did you learn at the meeting? How did it go? Tell me all about it. And she basically, you know, she was like, okay, let me see how I can, you know, you really should have been there, but let me just see what I can share with you. When people go through things in life, don't be so quick to judge it. You know, is it good? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it bad? Everybody, such and such had this happen. Oh my gosh, it's always the worst, right? It's never, you know, hey, they had a car wreck. And people say, hey, that was great. And so, but you know, we don't know. Is it bad? Is it bad? And he said, what are you talking about? She said, well, the next time something happens in your life that you want to freak out and say it's bad, meet an appointment with stress in 3 days. So if it's Monday at 12, when are we going to meet the appointment with stress, Lisa?
In 3 days.
That'd be Monday, Tuesday, Thursday morning.
Okay, thank you.
8 o'clock, we're going to flip out. But between till Wednesday, Thursday morning, don't freak out. It's not bad. And so the husband, he's like, there you go with all that stuff again. What do you mean? So what do we do between now and then? And she said, it's easy. Focus on what you would love. Well, long story short, he thought she's whacked. He was so glad he didn't go to the meeting. And then he, the next morning, he gets up and he goes to work. I'm getting somewhere with this. 11 o'clock next morning, he walks through the door. Now, I don't know about you, but when you got a mom at home taking care of 3 kids and a man walks through the door at 11 o'clock when he's supposed to be at work, that's generally not a good sign. You're right, he got laid off. He's, you know, what do people do? Rents do, utilities do, baby needs diapers, baby needs formula, what's going on, where am I going to get a job, the economy ain't, you know, all this, nag. Focused on what, you know, remember, don't freak out. She said, this is great. This is the perfect opportunity for us to work on it. And she said he was losing his mind. Took about 3 or 4 hours sitting at the kitchen table when finally he grabbed a pen and paper and said, okay, let's try it your way. Let's do what your way is. And she said, no, that ain't the way it works. You're being sarcastic. You cannot write down on the top of the paper, what would I love, and be sarcastic. She said, see, when you write down what you love, you think about this for a second. Everybody just ponder on that. Think of something that you would love right now. You see, if you love it, you can't help but be smiling and think, oh my gosh, that would be awesome. And you actually have to feel as if you already have it, because, you would love to have it, because why? Yeah, it's what you would love. And so finally, he's like, okay. He said, I'm gonna work on myself. Let's try this. So number one, she said, all right, what would you love? And he said, you know what? They didn't pay me enough money. I'm gonna get me a job and I'm gonna make twice the money. I want twice the payroll. She said, okay, write it down. Feel good about it. He wrote it down. And then she said, what else would you love? I like riding my bike, and I'm gonna ride my bike to work. I wanna be able to ride my bike home, ride my bike back, to working back. She said, okay, write it down. Number two, write it down. He sat there for a while, and he said, there's one last thing I'm gonna write down. She said, what is it? She said, I never felt real accepted where I worked. He said, I want to work at a place that it feels like every day when I go to work, it's like going to Thanksgiving dinner. When you go to Thanksgiving dinner, like Christmas Eve is tomorrow, when I go in there, me and Lisa's going to get loved on, hugged on. It's so good to see you. So come on in and have some sweet taters. And, Thanksgiving dinner. And she said, okay, and wrote it down. He said, that's it. He said, all right, what do I do now? Do I go get on the computer, the want ads? And she said, no, you don't have to do nothing. He said, now there you go. That's just crazy. She said, no. Think about this. Ask and ye shall, what's that statement, Lisa?
Receive.
And knock and it shall be
opened.
So our job is to put out there what we would what? That's right, what we would love, and be harmonious with that. Have gratitude as if we already have it. Remember, you can't be in that state of mind and not be happy, joyful, and smiling. So if you want to know you're doing it right, you're going to be looking like this old ugly guy smiling right here.
Handsome.
Oh, there you go. And yeah, all right, a little cute, I give it that. And so, but so he's like, well, I don't get it. How's this gonna work? And she said, when, now you may call it intuition, I'm gonna call it the still small voice, a nudge from within, however it is that relates to you. I just leave it like that. But that still small voice, when it tells you to do something, then do that. Now remember, you have an appointment with stress in how many days? That's right, 3 days. So she said, just go live your life and do your thing. He comes in on Wednesday about noon, and he's smiling like a cow full of calf. And she said, what's going on? He said, well, you ain't gonna believe it. I was down at the Dollar General. I don't know what store, we got Dollar Generals everywhere around here. He went down there to get a little baby formula, and he said, I had a little gut feeling to just strike up a conversation with this man next to me, told him what was going on, and he said, we looking for a man. We hiring. And he said, he loaded me up in his truck and took me down there and introduced me to the people, did an interview right there on the spot, and they hired me. And she said, really, where's it at? He said, well, it's close enough that I can, you're right, ride my bike to work. They said, well, what would you like? And he said, well, what's you paying? And guess what? It was twice what he had. And as he was walking out the door, the man stopped him and said, no, hold on, you can't leave yet. That's not the way it works around here. See, this is like family. So you got to meet everybody. They got on the old the PA and said, y'all need to get on up front office. And everybody come up there and they met him and hugged on him like it was Thanksgiving Day coming for dinner. As Henry Ford said, if you think you can't or you think you can, you're right. So if you think right now that Mary's story is hoodoo, then you're right. But on the other hand, I choose to think that Mary gave us a word of wisdom. Knock and be open. Ask and receive. Some people have a hard time swallowing that it can be that easy. They think they got to live this checklist. No, our checklist is to feel good, to have gratitude, and to focus on what we would love. Because I'm just going to say it, a lot of people would say Jesus is love. So if we're focusing on that, we're focusing on Him. And I'll end it with this, and I'll leave it with Lisa. What you do unto them, you've done unto you. You know, what is that? How Jesus, I'm butchering that statement, but if you do it to the least of these, you've done it to me. So the Father wants to bless you. He wants you to have abundance. This universe is so abundant because, see, if I can I be real blunt, Lisa?
Sure.
See, a poor man can't build church. He can't. You got to have something in your pocket. My father-in-law told me years ago, you got to have $20 in your pocket and walk down the street. See, the point is the money's really not for you. The money, yes, you can sit around the farm here and you can have nice things and kind of, you know, spoil yourself a little bit. But the money is really to bless those that you come in contact with. For those that you know are in need. Maybe a friend needs you to help save their house from losing at foreclosure. Maybe you see somebody in the Dollar General and their card's not working and you're like, no sweat, I got you, brother. See you later. You know, and maybe you're able to spread a good message with or something like that. So, whether you think I'm crazy or whether you think I'm not, you're right. So, what do you choose to focus on? This is due north, the old compass man, Eagle Scout. Lisa, what you got to bring us in?
I think you brought it in for
All right, well, grab your compass, bring it out. Let's focus on due north. We got to go there before we start setting our goals. Grab your pen and paper. Focus. What would you love? And if it takes a little while to write something down, well, then guess what? That's normal. And yeah, because we're so focused with fear, ain't we, Lisa? All right, I'm getting that look. I better hush.
You're not getting a look.
I'm not getting a look.
You're not getting a look.
Ain't she pretty? And go ahead and say bye.
No, just kidding. No, he's telling you the truth. I think that the main thing is sometimes the hardest thing is figuring out what you would love. And so another thing that Mary would say is there's 4 different areas in your life that maybe there's 2 signals we receive: longing, discontent. And in that scenario that he just shared with you, there was some longing, there was some discontent because he was afraid, and fear is just the #1 dream killer. And then you know, longing, wanting to do something more, you know, him wanting to have the relationships at work, not feeling like whenever he was there, he was not feeling appreciated or whatever. But those signals will lead you to figuring out what I love, what is it that I would want to do. And so the 4 areas are in your health. You know, maybe, you know, you want to be able to ride a bike. So health and well-being, maybe most people want the same thing. You want flexibility, you want to be able to move around, you want to feel good, you don't want to feel sluggish, all of those things. Next would be your relationships. You know, if your relationships are struggling a little bit, or maybe you want to spend more time with family here at Christmas time. You know, maybe you realize, hey, I'm not, you know, I'm not 100% fulfilled in those relationships. Maybe, you know, there's something that can be better with those, or maybe just your spouse. And then there's your vocation, which Kevin was talking about. You know, if you're not loving what you're doing, I know sometimes work, you don't love it. Even like whenever you're doing what you love, like for example, Kevin mentioned the corn maze. You know, we love it, but then there's times you're just so tired, but you just have to keep going. You know, so there's a difference in just like you know, doing what you love and then persevering and overcoming hurdles and things like that. You don't want to quit too soon, and that's a whole topic for another video. And then finally, your time freedom, your money freedom. So Kevin was sharing with you guys that you want to be able to give back, and that's what you do with the money, and it is. But the first thing you have to do is to I think one of the first desires is financial freedom, and that's yet another video, is having financial freedom. That was a different mentor of ours, Robert Kiyosaki. If you don't watch another video, read his book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It's a life changer, but if you want to semi-fully retire, that's a good book to start reading. And what we mean by semi-fully retire is basically that financial freedom where you have assets paying for your expenses. So sometimes, anyway, we'll go into that.
Yeah, that's another lesson.
That's another lesson. I get carried away. So those 4 areas, think about it. What would you love in your health, in your relationships, in your vocation, and in your time freedom? And you start there. So, okay, that was my 2 cents.
All right, so we're going, as Bob Proctor would say, we're going to bring this in for a landing. My mom and dad, they bought this farm in 1956, you know, yeah. And so as you look around, I mean, even some of these old trees, they've been here. Look at that, beautiful trees. Been here for a long time. And last thing I'll say is this: old trees and old sayings have been around a long time because it's real. Be careful what you ask for. You might just get it. That's what I heard all the time. I wish my grandma had told me the second half of that statement. Be careful what you ask for. You just might just get it. So why not ask for what you would love? All right. This is Due North. We're out. Deuces.
God bless.
God bless.